Hi guys, it's Maria, and I know I said I was going to make more videos with my more impressive equipment that looks a lot better than crap that I have right now, which is my phone. But I am in the midst of wedding stressing because I have a ceremony on June 9th and a honeymoon on the 11th, and until after June I'm just not capable of doing anything. So yeah, it'll probably be the end of June or July. With that being said though, I had to make a video really quickly because I just saw the Charmed Reboot trailer. I'm actually not going to talk about that because I don't have an opinion. I try to wait for the show to come out. I try to wait for, at least the first couple of episodes to even form an opinion. What I do want to talk about is this. There are a lot of interesting people in this world, and there are a lot of people that really make me question humanity as a whole, which is, I know that's a very profound thing to say about, having that reaction to people talking about a television show, but just hear me out. So, if you know the show Charmed, that aired about 12 years ago, it was set in San Francisco. It was about these three sisters, the Halliwell sisters, technically four if you count Paige, because she comes later and replaces Prue, but the show is about the three witches, the Halliwell sisters, who are the most powerful witches in their generation and pretty much their universe. They go on adventures, they fight demons, they fight warlocks, they use their spell book, the Book of Shadows, to overcome obstacles. Some they even create themselves, yada yada yada. It was a good show, very campy. I liked it at the time. I still like it, but that it is what it is. Everyone has made this show, I put this show on a pedestal that it really should not have been on, simply because one, it's a television show, and two, there were a lot of things about that show that were flawed. I mean, one of the biggest things I always found interesting was location. They were set in San Francisco, California. San Francisco, if you know, the population there is huge, but the community for LGBT is extremely huge. As a matter of fact, it has one of the largest populations in the nation. They're based in San Francisco. So to not have LGBT people on your show for 8 seasons, that's very strange. Because it's not like they were hiding. It's not like they had to run out and find that magical person who was from the LGBT community, like a leprechaun or whatever. They're pretty easy to find. But they weren't there. Where were they? So, yeah, that was a big thing. I'm saying that because I've been reading the comments on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and more recently in the last 24 hours on YouTube on the actual trailer video itself. There was one comment that kind of stood out because it was very long and it caused a chain reaction, which you know how a lot of people will comment and then people will troll that person. But this was very interesting because this person said a lot of derogatory, homophobic, and racist things, and people were supporting it in the name of Charmed. And I'll get into a little bit of the specifics. So let's talk about some of the characters. The first one that was mentioned in the post by this individual was the character Mel, who's played by the actress, I think her name is Melanie Diaz. So Mel's character is described as very strong-willed and feminist and a lesbian. Now, I understand why they put that as her character description. It's because the LGBT community, even though there has been more representation, there's still a long way to go. So having a lead character that is lesbian, that is actually a really big deal. Well, when that came to light, this person in the post and all the people that followed, we made comments like, how dare they do that to Charmed, because Charmed would never be gay and nobody wants to see a carpet muncher or a lesbo witch on a weekly basis. As a queer woman myself, that was highly offensive. But what got me was that nobody said anything about that. Nobody pointed out that that could have been construed as ignorant a derogatory remark. Another thing that I've noticed is the three sisters are Hispanic. They were originally white. They had P names. Now they are Hispanic with M names. They went from the Hallowell sisters to the Sanchez sisters. So they're already not happy about that. But they singled one girl out, and that is the actress Madeline Maddock, and I'm probably butchering her name, but she is a very pretty mixed actress from the UK. I'm mixed. I am a US and UK citizen, so I have a lot in common with her in terms of that, basically. What's interesting is that unlike me, she's half Hispanic. I don't know what the other mix is. It could be African, it could be anything. I don't know. But I do know that in an interview, when I used to follow her as Vel and Into the Badlands, and even Astrid on the Tomorrow People, she had mentioned that she was half Hispanic. So you would think somebody that was half Hispanic could portray a person who was Hispanic on television. But then look at me. I have kind of frizzy, curly, reddish brown hair. I have this yellowish, pinkish crap going on for skin tone. If I were to try out for a role in Hollywood, if it was a predominantly black family or a predominantly black show, I would not be cast because they would see me as standing out too much, or my skin color is too light, or maybe I'd basically bring a lot of drama of colorism, which is a thing, to the role or to the property, the production, whatever. So I would not be considered for that role. The same with a white family. I would not be considered because I'm too ethnic looking. So I'm usually pushed to like the Hispanic side. And I'm saying that because I am not Hispanic. My mother's from Scotland. My father is black from the South in the US. British and black. Scottish and black. Not Hispanic. I would have more support playing one of the sisters in that series than Madeline does, and she actually is half Hispanic. That to me is freaking ridiculous. She has no control over her skin tone. She has no control over her height, which is another issue. They're talking about how tall she is, but I mean, that makes no sense because Rose McGowan was taller than both of the girls on the show when she came, and that wasn't a problem. And if you didn't know, Rose McGowan played Paige, the character that replaced Prue later on. These people on these boards are very interesting. They are using the previous actors from the original Charms' frustrations and anger about the reboot as a platform and a vehicle to push their own homophobic and racist agenda, because there's no reason to talk about race and sexuality in a comment section for a trailer when it has absolutely nothing to do with the show. It's not meant to be the plot of the show. She's not meant to stand out as the mixed girl, and Melanie's not meant to stand out as the lesbian. It's actually, there's an actual plot here, but all they see is that. And I don't get it, because it is 2018, and you would think that the days when inclusion and I guess non-inclusion is a better way of saying that, and segregation and perceiving things the way you want them to be, not the way they actually are, would be over, but it's not. Like, these comments were very, very hateful, and they were on multiple social media boards, and it doesn't make sense to me. These are just actresses that got hired on a job, and they have no input whatsoever into the development of their characters. Will they later on? Maybe, but who they are right now is who the writers and the CW, or the producers, or whatever said that they would be. They were cast for these roles. They were not sitting in a writer's room saying, "Hey, I'm going to be gay," and "Hey, this person needs to be this." No, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, it's very disheartening, and I do know that we live during a time that's very trying, where we're trying to, quote unquote, make America great again. But I think that what we need to start doing is focusing on making America great in general. Because right now we are a long way from that. And I kind of hope that people watch the show, because maybe they'll learn something. Maybe they will embrace something outside of what they know, their norm, their, version of how something should be. Because that's how life works. Life is about evolving and changing and growing and learning as people, not about judging and putting people down and bullying because somebody is different, or somebody looks different, or somebody acts different, or somebody loves differently. It's just insane to me. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's more interesting to know that these people that are making these comments actually need to check themselves more, because when they turn off their television and they boycott the show like so many of them have said they're going to do, they still are going to go outside of their apartments, their houses, their condos, whatever, go into the real world, and then they will see Madelyns and Mels and all the diversity that they are so adamantly against in the real world. It stops nothing. It prevents nothing. So why get so hateful about it? I mean, change is inevitable. Acceptance, in my mind, is inevitable. You're going to have to, because it's in your face. Everything's around you. We are a culture of diverse people, and we're meant to be. If we were not, we would be a country that was completely drawn us to each other. We'd be the Borg. It doesn't make sense. So that's my 2 cents. I just had to vent that out a little bit, because it doesn't make sense. It's so ignorant, but it's kind of a reflection of where we are now, and that's really scary. So, yeah. Hope you have a good day, guys. Bye.